guys, it's Ariana. Welcome back to my channel. So for tonight's video, we're going to be reading some more scary stories. I have a bunch of Reddit stories here that I have ready to go, and authors have approved me to read their stories, so I am excited to read them. One of the stories that I'm going to read today is a longer story. It's not the most terrifying story I've ever read in my entire life, but it is a true story, and it's really just weird. So I'm going to start with that one because I just found it fascinating. It's not overly paranormal, I would say, but you never know because it takes place with somebody checking out and going through an abandoned tunnel and finding all of this weird shit. So let's jump into this story. So this is from the Reddit author over_narwhal728, and it's titled The Deeply Disturbing Tunnel. Me and my friend, 15 male, 15 male, and 14 male, found a tunnel in the side of a hill last night. It had a grate on it, but a part of it was broken off so you could go inside. So today we decided to explore it. It definitely wasn't a tunnel for stormwater or sewage, as it was a square about 5 feet by 5 feet. All three of us dropped down into it and started walking forward. There was some graffiti at the start, but at about 100 feet in, there was none whatsoever, which in hindsight was kind of unsettling. We had brought some powerful flashlights, but we also were barely able to see past 15 feet in front of us. On the way in, we heard some metallic clangs in the distance, but we decided it was probably just a car running over a manhole. The first stretch was about 200 or 300 feet, straight shot, made entirely of cement. Then there was a right-hand turn, and we saw the ceiling change from cement to sheet metal with screws poking out from it. There was also another roughly 150 to 200 feet of tunnel before a left-hand turn. Once we made it the turn, we saw about another 100 to 150 feet of tunnel that opened into a room. One thing to note was that the tunnels were pretty much perfectly clean, despite being unlit and seemingly unattended. There was no dust, mold, trash, dirt, any crap whatsoever. In hindsight, this was also disturbing. We made it to the first room, and we noticed that there was a manhole on top, some stairs going up, and an oval opening that led off to an area full of leaves, and then more of a square tunnel straight ahead. And finally, a dead raccoon on the floor. The raccoon seemed perfectly fine, aside from it being scalped. A stretch of fur on the top of its skull was completely missing, and you could see the bone from the skull. Weirdly enough, though, there was absolutely no blood at all. It was not rotting either, suggesting it had been recently killed. Once again, this was an unnerving hindsight. We ignored this and continued down the square tunnel, and we saw a very small patch of light that was about 400 feet away and decided that we were going to head towards it. However, the tunnel now seemed to be getting slightly smaller. It was now roughly 4.5 feet high, but still about 5 feet wide. As it continued, it kept on narrowing. There was another drop down at about 100 feet before the exit, but nothing unusual. Towards the last 50 feet of the tunnel, it was now about 4 feet high and still about 5 feet wide. And we noticed yet another dead raccoon. Once again, perfect condition, not rotting at all, so very recently killed. When we finally popped out of the tunnel, we realized that we were right next to one of the gas stations in my very neighborhood. We gave each other high fives and took a minute to rest because our backs were absolutely killing us due to all the crouching. And we went to get food. As we walked back to the house, we started talking about the raccoons and how strange it was. Then we realized how unbelievably clean the tunnels were and the strange lack of graffiti in any parts. We also talked about the metal clanging that we heard at the very start and thought it was a car going over a manhole. But from what we heard, the tunnel never really went under a road. And we didn't hear it again once we were all the way through the tunnel. We were all very confused and felt unsettled because of how wrong it just seemed. It was too clean and the design wasn't normal by any means. There should have been more graffiti or something in there, but it was absolutely spotless. Also, the raccoons concerned me to say the least. What killed them and why did it just leave them there? And what kind of tunnel was that anyway? I've looked online and I can't find anything. If people are interested, I can show where the tunnel starts and ends on Google Maps, and hopefully I can get some answers as to why it's there in the first place. And they do have an update to that story. So like I said again, it's not the most terrifying story, it's just like a really strange experience that they had in this weird tunnel. So the update, they said, today me and my other friend returned armed in a full outfit of the most powerful flashlights we could find and descended back into the tunnel. On the way in, everything was like it was yesterday. Very dark, almost no graffiti, and very clean. We reached the first open area where the dead raccoon was. However, something was now different. The raccoon was in a completely different position, roughly 5 feet from where it was prior, and it was even more scalped than it was yesterday. Instead of just a strip of fur removed, all the fur on the top of its head was now missing. Other than that, it was still untouched and not rotting yet, and there was no smell whatsoever. We did not end up going into the oval opening off to the side this time, but maybe next time we will explore it. We took some pictures and continued down the final, very long stretch. We were about 500 feet from the exit when we noticed yet another dead raccoon was there lying against the wall. Yesterday, it was only about 25 to 50 feet from the exit. Someone or something had dragged it deep into the tunnel. But once again, it was untouched and not rotting at all. We heard some sounds coming from behind us, which was probably wind, but in a tunnel, wind sounds very low, like a deep hum or a growl. And we were already scared, so we just went through the final stretch as fast as possible. I don't know why the raccoons were repositioned or why they haven't started to rot yet. I will explore this tunnel more and try to find more info on it for you guys. And that's all of their updates that they have at the moment. That's just weird, right? Like, I don't understand who's moving the raccoons. Why is there raccoons? And why are they like skinning them partially and then just leaving them? And why are they like drained of all their blood? I am so confused. I have so many questions. If that was a wild animal doing it, the animal would have eaten the raccoon. It wouldn't just be like removing parts of its skull or skin. That's odd. That's just an odd freaking story. I don't really know. So now we're gonna move on to a more creepier side to Reddit. So this one is from the True Scary Story section. It is from the Reddit author A Mochi, and it's titled Sleep Paralysis. A few months ago, I experienced sleep paralysis for the first time. I had a dream just before the sleep paralysis happened. And in that dream, I was lying in bed and kept being pulled down by my leg. I woke up in my dream seeing a shapeshifter trying to drag me out of my bed, and it was constantly switching between a cat's shadow and a shadow man. When I woke up, my room was absolutely freezing, and I was now sweating. I kept feeling like I was in danger, like my body was in fear, but completely paralyzed. I realized that I couldn't move, and I started panicking. My head was on the side, just looking at the closet that's across from my bed, and I felt trapped. I felt like I was in danger, and I couldn't do anything. The only thing running through my mind was, I'm definitely going to die. And someone is going to fucking murder me. But my gut feeling kept telling me that someone was in my closet. It felt like forever. I finally was able to move, and I got out of my bed so fast, turned on the light, and slammed my closet door shut. I couldn't sleep for a few hours, which was worse because I had only slept for about 2 hours before the sleep paralysis shit started. Oh, that's really crappy. I'm so sorry that that happened to you. I don't like sleep paralysis. Nothing about sleep paralysis is fun. I've only experienced it once, and I definitely don't want to ever experience it again. So I definitely feel for anyone that has to deal with that, because that just fucking sucks. And like, you just have an overall feeling of like being watched and panicky, and it's just like, it sucks. So I'm so sorry that happened to you. The next story that I'm going to read is again from the True Scary Story section. So all of these stories that I'm reading today are true stories. So even if you don't believe them or find them to be the most terrifying, they are true stories. So I find the true ones just absolutely fucking terrifying, regardless. So this one is from the Reddit author Shot-Specialist2844, and it's titled The Birthday Boy. Now this story is fucking weird. Before I tell my tale, you need some context. When I was young, my family were heavily Christian, making me spend my Sundays at service and Wednesdays at a youth group. I am not religious now, but those years instilled an awareness of the paranatural in me. As I grew up, I became more independent and rebellious, leading me to seek out forms of psychedelic spiritual enlightenment. It just so happened that I so deemed that a priority over having a place to stay. As a young adult living in a small farm town in the middle of the Willamette Valley, there wasn't a lot of opportunities for kids my age. You either partook in substances, worked in the wine industry, or got involved in the numerous cults around. The story takes place at about 10 p.m., and as my friend and I were bumming smokes from patrons from behind a local bar, there was about 5 people, my friend and I included. We were all tad bit tipsy, sharing tales and shooting the crap, when a man walked out that I had never seen before. He was about 5.5 feet tall, with odd proportions, donning a burly mustache that did not fit his face whatsoever. He wore a cowboy hat 2 sizes too big, a leather jacket over his plain white tank top, leather pants, and boots to finish off his outfit. He kind of just stood there, trying to be part of a group, yet excluded through some metaphysical divide. After about 10 minutes or so of loitering, he started talking. He mentioned it was his birthday and referred to himself as the birthday boy. On and on, he would only talk about how it was his birthday, that he needed a cigarette because it was his birthday, that someone should buy him a drink for his birthday. I'm pretty sure at this point it was his birthday. 30 minutes passed and the patrons slowly started filtering out until it was just the birthday boy, my friend, and me. He asked us if we knew where any abandoned buildings were and if we could take him to one. I was already unnerved, but at this point, my entire being was screaming at me to get the fuck away from this guy. Like a switch had flipped and I could feel some sort of evil intention radiating from him. I gave him some sort of vague direction of a non-existent building and said goodbye. He asked me if I would take him there and celebrate his birthday with him and that he had gifts for us. I told him no, and I need to make it to my friend's house to go to sleep. He told me, and I quote you, "I'll see you again, Noah," and gave me a huge, inhuman grin, and then proceeded to sprint backwards for about 30 feet. Yes, backwards. Spin around and run in the direction I gave him. I looked at my friend and we both started running in the opposite direction, cutting through side streets and jumping a couple of fences. We ended up making it to my friend's house and making it inside. Now about 20 minutes have passed and we're just inside hanging out when I hear someone singing "Happy Birthday." I peek out through the window and it's the fucking man. I don't know how he found us, but he paced up and down the street for an hour or two until he gave up and sprinted away. I never saw this man again, but I'll never forget his parting sound. Click, clack, the sound of cowboy boots furiously smacking the pavement. I don't know what the heck he was, but he was not human. To the birthday boy, let's not celebrate together, ever. And that's their entire story. So I did message this author because I wanted to get permission, and I did ask them if this actually happened, and he said yes. What the fuck? That is so weird. That is just so strange. I don't know. Honestly, that just screams to me like an episode of Supernatural. That is weird. Like, what the fuck was wrong with that man? How did he know your name? I guess maybe somebody could have said it, like when you guys were all hanging out and talking, but it's just weird to address you by your name and say, "I'll see you later," and then appear like 20 minutes later at your friend's house. How did he know where you guys were? Did he follow you? Obviously he followed you, but how? Like, what the fuck? There's just so many things about that is just like, I don't know. So weird. I don't know. That's just the weirdest story I've ever read. So, well, not the weirdest story I've ever read, but it's up there. So the last story that I'm going to read is another Let's Not Meet story. It's from the Reddit author OK_Narwhal465, and it's titled, "I Listened to My Gut Feeling." So this is about 5 years ago, and it still creeps me out. I was 18 at the time. I'm now 23, and I was walking home from work at the local pizza joint and took my usual route. It was about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and it was super dark. As I'm getting about 100 yards from my street that I live on, a white van turns onto my street. Nothing suspicious, but something didn't sit right with me. So I yanked out my earbuds and I paused my music. I then turned down my street. As I'm getting closer to my house, I started getting a weird feeling. I look up from my phone as I was about to text my roommate, who was out of town at the time, that I was almost home. It was about 15 yards or so. And as I look up, I notice the white van sitting in front of my fucking house. And then the man inside is just staring at me. The yellow car light shining on his face. He had brown hair, glasses, and facial hair. His van lights were off, but his car was running. I stopped and I put my back to a tree in my neighbor's yard and just stood there, maintaining eye contact with this man. After what seems like an eternity, probably like 5 minutes, he starts driving towards the stop sign at the end of the road. I didn't put my back to him. I kept my back to the tree and I maintained visual on the van the entire time until it stopped at the stop sign. He just sat there for probably another 2 to 3 minutes. All while I'm not looking away and my back's still on the tree. Finally, he turned right in the direction of which he came from, and about 20 seconds of making sure he or no one else wasn't coming, I bolt to my house. I quickly get inside and I lock the door. I go to the window and very quietly look through the blinds. I didn't turn on any lights because I'm not stupid. After a few seconds of looking, he drove back up and down my street and then left again. Afterwards, I did text my roommate what happened and then went to each and every one of my windows in my house to make sure that they were all locked, along with the back door and garage door. I made sure to keep all the lights off for the remainder of the night. I didn't sleep a lick that night. I was so paranoid at every sound or movement. Let's just say, I never walked home after that again. To the man in the van, Let's not meet again. That wasn't a paranormal story, but just fucking weird. People are weird. Humans are weird. Like, I always say that. Like, I love the paranormal stories and like the ghosts and goblins and ghouls and demons. They're terrifying. And I cannot believe that you guys experience that in real life. But like humans, they're just as scary. They're another breed of fucking weird. Like, some people are fucked. So this is where I'm gonna end the video. If you guys did enjoy this video, please leave me your favorite, I don't know, just leave me your favorite emoji in the comment section down below. It lets me know that you guys made it to the end of the video. It also helps boost my video on the algorithm because for whatever reason, YouTube doesn't like to promote my videos anymore. So that's always fun for me. But if you did make it to the end of the video, leave me your favorite emoji down below. If you guys have any creepy stories that you want to share with the channel, please feel free to message me either over Instagram or over my email, and I will definitely read your guys' personalized stories because I definitely need more of your guys' stories. I haven't read a personalized one from you guys in the longest time because I don't have any more. So if you guys have any creepy stories, feel free to share them with me either over Instagram or my email, and I will definitely read them. But thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you guys had an amazing Christmas or holiday, whichever holiday that you guys celebrate at this time of year. And I hope you guys have an amazing new year. And I will see you guys at the next video. Bye.